Welcome to episode 21 of Are You Mad at Me? 21. Yep. That's a multiple of 7. So this is a little off-putting. But that's okay. I like it. Anyway, I'm Vickie
We're not
Morgan.
on any pudding. Butterscotch, vanilla, tapioca. No puddings.
I'm Vickie Morgan.
I'm Josh Morgan.
And so this is, I did something a little crazy.
This is a very special episode of Are You Mad at Me?
I did something a little crazy, I think.
Yeah?
Are
we talking about two different things right now?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, very much.
Sometimes I'm just on a different frequency.
That's okay.
That's all right. There's two of us.
Usually grind it in there eventually. If you can't find them, grind them.
Grind them till you find them.
Grind, yeah. So I put a clip of our podcast on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
and
that was an interesting thing to try.
Interesting choice she made there.
I'm not ever on LinkedIn, but I would not say, hey, go check out that podcast clip on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
If anybody asked.
I have seen, I've done, I don't know how many profiles on LinkedIn since it came out. And it's like, basically, you upload your resume and put all your, and so here's
LinkedIn's like a fancy social media resume, right?
It's like a moving, living resume. And so here's what I don't like about resumes. When I first started doing them back in, I'm going to say 2000, like 1995, I got out of high school, and you don't really need to do a resume to work at Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
But you basically, that was back in the days when you just fill out an application, and they called you and they said, "Can you pass donuts to people?" And you go, "I probably." And they go, "You're
things.
hired," and that's it. And now you need like an undergrad degree to work at Tim Hortons for minimum wage. But anyway, not to disparage this Tim Hortons, we love the food, but the resume.
We haven't actually seen that you need a degree to work at Tim Hortons, to be fair.
Are you mad at me? So resumes, when I first started first time I graduated from a program, one of the things was to make a resume, and it was all like put your whole work history on there. If you've done customer service, if you've done answering phones, if you've done answering phones, if you've done English, if you've done English. But it was, you put everything on there. That was my approach to it. And it's like, yeah, I have done all these things. Which of those things would you like me to resume doing? And that's probably where the name came from.
Probably.
So I have learned over the years, as the older I get and the longer my resume gets, it's more of like, what do you want to tell people that you would like to do again?
Yeah. So LinkedIn.
So I took that approach to my LinkedIn profile
yeah.
maybe a couple of weeks ago. And so I've had stuff on there about the films I've made. I've had stuff about when I was doing DEI trainings and workshops, when I was just doing documentary film classes.
So basically everything that you did.
Well, the technical stuff, like the, actual things, whatever. So this time around, I was like, we make podcasts. And our podcast is about self-publishing. So we're finally, I feel like, on track of putting out there what we do. And so I went to LinkedIn and I took everything off my profile. And so I just put on there, Vickie Morgan does self-publishing, coaching, consults, and also hosts a podcast with her veteran American
SEO
husband. Keywords. Well, there's a certain audience that's going to respond to you being a veteran, right? And, you should have your people following us. Some people are going to be really happy that I'm a Canadian. Now, they might be disappointed that I have dual citizenship, but I am Canadian. So if we're putting your elbows up, you can still follow the podcast. We're still good people. So anyway, I put a clip of the podcast, and I don't even remember what it was. I don't remember what clip it was. But anyway, someone found it. And because I had like hashtag self-publishing, whatever, this person, we have a couple of connections in real life that we didn't know about. Anyway,
it's a small province, so there's lots of you. Like you usually, when you meet somebody new, it's like, oh, my cousin, or this person that I used to go to school with.
It is still 500,000 people,
and
that's just what's here now. And you're talking about all the generations of who do you know, my grandmother, and I went to school with your cousin. So of course, law of attraction at work, and I believe that, and I know all the marketing courses I've ever taken, my instructors right now are going, shut up, there's a science, but it's not. I think it's a lot more energetic and a lot more feel it out. And, I find when I post something, if I don't like myself, nobody responds to it. I mean, that's just, you can just keep a little chart. When I felt good, I posted this. Nobody cared. When I felt bad, I posted this, and blah, blah, blah. I'd said the opposite of what I meant, but.
I got you.
Yeah. Very sciencey on here. So, but I put out what I wanted to tell the world. I'm doing a podcast. Like, yes, I've done lots of other things, but this is the thing I'm doing right now for fun, and it promotes the self-publishing thing that we do.
And somebody found it.
And you do the graphic design. So that's a team thing that we do, and also there's a podcast. So somebody found it, and put a comment down there, and she went and listened to the podcast that we had done that week.
That's exactly
and it was all about.
That's exactly what you were hoping for. Put it on there. Somebody sees it, goes listen to the podcast.
It was immediate. I mean, immediate. So, I mean, not, obviously it was like a day or two later, but it was exactly the market, was exactly the person that I wanted to reach. So she went and listened to a podcast, and we talked about all the pain points, which I feel like, oh my God, how many more times can I talk about this? But it's like, we have to assume that somebody is listening to this for the very first time, this episode. So you can go back and look at the show notes, and you can catch up like we're doing on Nate Land. There, I mentioned it. We're still catching up, and I still love the show, and I'm still a massive fan, and I reconnected with that this past week. Like, all right, I want to go to Tennessee. Like, that's the goal, is to get in an RV, take our show on the road, do some gigs along the way where we do like a Mulberry Creek gig, and we do an open book night where people come out. We could even do workshops and help people get their books ready for publishing, but it's on the way to Tennessee.
Right.
And then California is kind of the main place, because I got a beautiful, amazing cousin in California that I really want to go visit.
Yeah.
So I want to see most of the states, and I'm not afraid to go down there, believe it or not. Anyway, where was I? Train of thought. Where was it? Boop,
so you put it on LinkedIn. Somebody listened to the podcast.
What?
You put it on LinkedIn. Somebody saw it and listened to the podcast.
Somebody went and listened to the podcast and heard the stuff we were talking about with self-publishing. And so she put a comment on my LinkedIn, which is great because the algorithm loves comments and engagement. So she put a comment on there and said, oh, I'm excited about this new podcast. I love self-publishing. So I went and looked at her profile. Turns out we may have connected months ago through a mutual friend who's in marketing. Anyway, so I go on her profile, and she is absolutely fascinating. So, dental hygienist. Her name is Nicole Kielly. She's a dental hygienist, but she's also a self-published author. And she does marketing for clinics across Canada.
Which is, I found this really, like, when you started telling me about this, it was like, there's no way, because this is somebody that does marketing. Like, she uses self-publishing in her own marketing, which is like, this is like your anthem. Like, you're like,
preach.
If you have a book of something that you're an expert in, or something that you're interested in, or something that you enjoy doing, having a book is like your business card. And it's like, somebody gets in touch and says, I made a book and it's pretty much like my business card, and it's what I use for, like, it was crazy. Like, it was it
checked all the boxes.
Perfect little connection.
It was exactly.
So I just want to say,
yeah, go for it.
If somebody like that's just like right on the same frequency, with like 10 minutes down the road, there's the whole world. Like, it's not like she's going to be the only other person that's like, yes, marketing, self-publishing. So there's more of you out there. More of us, more of these people that
I trust the law of attraction and tuning into a frequency of, this is what I love to do and this is what I want to do for other people. The right people will find us.
Yeah.
And so the 13 or 1,400 people on Facebook that I have connected with in my lifetime, so 14 whatever years we've been on Facebook, those are people that we've connected with because of our family, because of whatever social jobs we've had together, or we've done projects together. We've connected on a certain level, but they did not come into my life because of anything that I do professionally.
Right.
For the most part.
Mostly, yeah. I mean, for the past few years, you've been connecting more and more with people professionally. Because when you do something, you send friend requests.
Because you never know. But when you market on Facebook on your friends to your friends list, it's really it's like throwing a pile of mud at the wall and hoping some of it sticks.
Yeah.
Because the chances, so maybe like 3% of the people on your Facebook list are folks who might be interested in what you're doing. But anyway.
So Nicole.
So we connected on which LinkedIn. The whole point of LinkedIn is to can make business connections.
Exactly.
And everything I see on there is like, oh, I'm celebrating this milestone, and oh, I've been doing this job for this many years, and congratulate this person for graduating from whatever. And it's a whole bunch of business stuff. And so I realized
this is our business.
This is our business. And marketing is one of the major things on LinkedIn, where you can hire a marketing consultant to do your stuff. Yeah. So putting myself out there as, hey, we do marketing, and here's how we do it. We do it through the podcast. And what better way to show our podcast than to put a clip of our podcast? So big fan of podcasting, big fan of self-publishing, because it is one way. I feel like instead of going and hiring a radio station to do some ad copy for me, I love having some control over the message. And I like letting people get to know me. Because if you listen to the podcast and you decide, this person's not for me, that's excellent. I don't have to talk to you on the phone.
Weeding out.
We don't have to sit in a coffee shop for 3 hours and find out. Turns out we don't really like each other. But now we got this relationship, and,
now it's awkward.
You've watched me chew. So it skips over that part. So by the time we go out for coffee, if someone's listened to the podcast, we've already established we have this thing in common, and maybe it goes from there. But I like the idea of, as opposed to marketing to your friends, to market to strangers who become your friends.
Yeah, that's
when you connect on an actual, like a genuine level of, here's a genuine common interest that we have, and you build on that. Sometimes you go, hey, by the way, we also have this in common, or we love to do this thing, or you end up at a hockey game together, or your kids hang out, or whatever, or you play Fortnite together. But it does, I think, figuring out what your radio station broadcasts, tune into that frequency and being proud of it and saying, this is what I want to put out.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I should be a doctor. Maybe I should go back to school. Maybe I should whatever. Great. But here's what I want to do. And I think you can be good at lots of things and hate all of it, but it's what do you want to do? And so growing that thing that you love is the secret, I think, to happiness, because I loved that interaction. So Nicole reached out on LinkedIn, took a chance posting it on there, because there's not a whole lot of, I haven't seen a whole lot of podcast promotion on there. And I put a clip. I also put it on Pinterest, and did I put it on Etsy? Maybe not. I don't think you can put it on Etsy, but I put it in a few different places.
So you're marketing. And it worked because Nicole got in touch and told you her story. And then
being on that frequency of, hey, here's what I do and I want people to know about it, open it up. And so does it have to necessarily go through that platform? No, absolutely not. I think it's the frequency.
Yeah.
And so if someone turns their radio on and they go, hey, I wouldn't mind knowing this thing, or I would like to just zone out for an hour and listen to a couple of idiots yammer on about their friggin' marriage and how we love each other, blah, blah, blah.
Is this our podcast you're marking right now?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We got to do some restructuring.
We're not everybody's cup of tea, but man, we are some people's shot of tequila. Cheers to that. Well, I don't even drink tequila. I've never drank. Have you ever had tequila?
Once, yeah. Just the once.
That's what people usually say. They either continue drinking it or they learn their lesson the first time. Anyway, we're trying something brand new this week.
Yeah, what happened this week?
So connected with Nicole, and we have not done on this iteration of Josh and Vickie talking into microphones. We had guests on the Mulberry Creek Hour.
Right.
We had folks in when we did it at the radio station.
That was kind of the plan for those shows, was
to promote musicians.
Was getting musicians and talking to them about the process and all the music.
And I loved it. And we might do that one of these days again.
But we just started doing this to have something to do when our car broke down.
And to market that we self-publish
well, that's what it turned
and market
into.
our books.
Yeah, exactly.
But we were talking about that for a couple of weeks. So were you not intentional when you set this up? Did you? I feel like we talked about it.
We probably were. I mean, we're at 21 episodes in, 21 weeks in, so I'm probably, it's been a while. But we're full on marketing self-publishing now.
I remember talking about it. Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah,
and
we probably did.
And then, you put it out there, you put the things out, and the things fall in place, and things people cooperate, and then all of a sudden you're sitting in front of a microphone, you go, well, just turn on the camera, we'll just do one right now. Oh my God, we were in pajamas.
Yeah, we did start immediately talking about self-publishing.
100%.
Marketing.
Then it kind of became, wait, are we talking about relationships though? What about comedy? Because I was doing a lot of comedy when we first started this too. And so
what about religion? Anyway, Nicole.
We got off track, man. But I think the last couple of episodes were like very cringe, and that's what the young people call it. That means
that's what they say.
When it makes you cringe. But we really, really shared a lot about ourselves. And so if you're up to 21, if you're up to episode 21 with us and you're still on board, I think we are all going to be best friends because we put it out there.
Yeah.
And I think we're really getting like a momentum going of this is who we are. This is what we can do for you. And we're going to talk every week and check in and encourage people to do their own podcast.
That's right.
We also produce podcasts. That is another thing that we are able to do.
Yeah.
And once you're done with school now in another few weeks.
So much time.
That's something that we can do electronically while we're on the road traveling with our show.
That's right.
So basically we went and did our first road show this week, which I'm very, very excited about.
We recorded the podcast on location.
Yes.
As they say.
And it was, I don't know, how was it for you to pack up all the gear and go to a location? And
it was pretty good. We had a miniaturized version of our setup here.
Yep.
And, it worked.
Yep. It was really fun.
And I did learn I would do a couple things differently next time, but it wasn't anything that affected, there was,
like what?
Like I would take a light.
Tell our people who are listening who want to do a podcast and are thinking about going on location, in an ideal situation, what would you have for
Right
gear?
now we have two mics. It goes through an interface and I can control each channel and it goes into the computer and I record it this way. And the other day, in order to minimize our bag, we took 2 mics and a recorder, a handheld recorder. So with a handheld recorder, it was great because it was really small and the mics just plug right into it, but it didn't have individual channel
input
adjustments. So we're having 2 different microphones, slightly different microphones. It was like I had to move one farther away from the guest and one really close to your mouth. So anyway, that's something that I would have our interface next time because the laptop's not that big.
Or 2 mics of the same.
Two of the same mic. Mic. That would also work. And then the this was something that I fixed in post, so it wasn't a big deal. But the light wasn't ideal because we had light coming in from the window, and when you turned your face to look at the guest, your other side was kind of dark. So I would have light. Yeah. I would have like our softbox that we have here.
I don't think those are things that should prevent somebody from doing.
Yeah, no, just
shoot.
If you're watching this on YouTube or wherever, you'll see in the interview that it looks fine, like it's great and it sounds good, and it's just something that
I think those are things that put polish on it.
Learning from doing it.
And it's also like if the content is compelling and you're interested in it and you're excited about it, I think a lot of it sells itself, but then on the other hand, having a little bit of polish, having the sound quality where there's not a lot of background noise, where the faces are fully lit. So
that's the other thing about recording on a location. Like we can control the sound here. We have some moving blankets hung up to absorb some of the sound, the carpet, and but in where we did the interview, it was kind of echoey.
Yeah.
So like this, I find this sound really good because it's just totally
dead sound. It's a dead room. Yeah.
And then, but in her office, it's a dental hygiene office, so it's not set up for
no
audio.
Soft surfaces.
So there's some echo, but it was that's what I think people that are listening expect when you hear something that's not in a studio to sound like it's not in a studio. But
I mean, it didn't sound like it was on the phone. Or
yeah, no, it was still good mics and good audio and stuff. But,
so we have explored the idea too of doing interviews over Zoom so that people can
which we did during COVID
a lot. And if someone has a decent microphone on the other end of the conversation, they can send us the audio file and we can splice it together.
We found that relying on the Zoom recording of the interview was tricky because sometimes like the internet will drop a little bit and there'll be a glitch and it's like, well, I can't fix that in post because the audio's not there. Yeah. But if they record on their end, like if they have a recorder or even into their phone or whatever, you'd have a steady, solid.
Yeah. So essentially, the Zoom interview is for the video portion, so you can actually have a visual of the person speaking.
Yeah,
but the audio can drop out. Yeah. So these are things that we've learned, and it's none of it's reason to not do your podcast. You don't need these fancy microphones, and you don't need an interface. But as you progress, you will notice that your first few episodes were a little. You record them into your phone. You can hear the gulls screaming in the background, or you can hear the turtles laying eggs on the beach.
I said something. I was talking the other day to a friend that I used to play in a band with 20 years ago, and he was saying like we found some of our old music that we recorded 20 years ago, and I hadn't heard it in a long time. He hadn't heard it in a long time, and so we were kind of sharing it. And he was like, "This stuff's kind of cringy, like to listen to." And I said, I told him if you're listening to something that you did 20 years ago and you don't cringe, then that means you didn't grow as an artist. Like you didn't change. If you're like, yeah, this is still something, this is the same as I'm doing it now. Like nothing changed. You didn't learn how to play guitar better or write better music since then, or like, not that there's anything wrong with what we made 20 years ago. It's just we were 20 years old. So it's.
Or you wait until it's perfect before you start
and then you
missed out on all that,
But if you're doing a podcast or self-publishing or whatever, you just do it, and then you learn, and then your next one's going to be better, and your next one's going to be better, and that's how creation.
It does get better. Yeah. I think that's the key, right? Is that it does. You actually do get better at all the tech stuff, and you figure it out. But it's certainly not a deterrent. You start right where you are with the gear that you have, and there's lots of videos and tutorials on Google, on YouTube to show you like how to, and like you can get a platform. What do you call it? There's an app where you can just edit your audio, because an audio like an audio file has all these like dips and valleys, and all this is what it looks like. And so when you use an app to edit your audio and somebody coughs or sneezes or says or whatever, I don't like cutting stuff like that out. Coughs and sneezes, yes, or like a dog tipping over your microphone.
Yeah, it depends on how.
But I don't like, people have pop filters, and they don't like the S sound or the P sounds, and that is just. I mean, I don't like it when it's too polished.
It depends on what you're doing, because there's a lot of Some people want, like if you're doing a more newsy, like professionally polished, like I don't know, if you're talking about the news or something serious, you don't want somebody to be distracted by like a weird pop in your, you know what I mean? Like if
now I disagree. Actually,
but if you're just having fun,
the news is the least processed audio that you'll ever hear, and same with radio stations. So all I hear is sounds. I can't stand it. But they put so much content out that they don't focus. So they try to polish as much as it's going out. But it's just not something to worry about. These are things that, like, when an audio engineer listens, they go, "Oh, you got some P and what's plosives?"
Plosives, yeah.
Again, these are not things that you need to worry yourself with. You can look it up and do all your research, but if it keeps you from starting, then don't even worry about it. Just press record, sit down with your friend that you want to start a podcast with.
It'll get better next time and the time after that. So the interview. Let's talk about what we did this week, and then we'll show the interview.
So we did a road show, and this is, like, as far as lining up with what our long-term goals are, I think we're getting closer to that. Because the idea of going on the road and doing interviews as we go, and that's our podcast as we go, and like sponsoring an episode, which those are things like here's what I envision, that we take Are You Mad at Me on the road, and along the way we do Mulberry Creek gigs, and we do open book nights, and we do workshops maybe. So we travel, and let's say we go to Halifax or we go to Moncton, and we settle down. We're going to spend 3 days in Moncton. Like, okay, the first day we're going to maybe do a workshop, and it's going to be in songwriting, like how to finish your song and polish it. And then maybe the next night there's a songwriter circle. Yeah. And you come in and you play the song that you now are confident in playing that you might not have performed before. But when you've played it in front of someone, they go, you know what? It sounds really great. Let's give it a try in a safe, comfortable room with other songwriters and an attentive listening audience. And then the podcast. Like, so we let people know, like, we're going to be in St. Andrews next week, or we're going to be in Nashville or Clarksville or,
Portland,
Sherbrooke, or wherever we're going. I think it'd be really nice to take the show on the road and be able to do those things, because it's all stuff, you edit digitally. Like, this is all very, very portable. So I think we're getting much closer to what I want to be doing. Yeah. And I was thinking too, like, we might start doing some more radio shows and hosting some Earshot episodes to promote the music. Because after the Songwriter Circle, it did certainly light a bit of a fire under me, and I do want to make sure that I'm promoting on those channels that we're promoting Mulberry Creek and the songwriter aspect and what I'm working on. So I'm working on TikTok. Like, it's all coming together. Yeah. It really is. And so, but if people don't know that we play music, we're not gonna be able to book gigs. But if I can send somebody to our social media and say, here's shows we've done, here's upcoming shows, well, I promise we are professional musicians. Like that,
coming to your town.
It adds a lot of credibility to have those social platforms. And I did something also this week that I'm kind of excited about, because it was a really nice experience. But I went to an audition. I auditioned for a dinner theater that's going on all summer long, and it was very pleasant. I actually don't have an Are You Mad at Me segment this week. It was just fantastic. Really, really nice. Really good people. I'm a little overwhelmed with the idea of having a schedule, like having somewhere I need to be on certain days. And so my anxiety kicked in immediately with just the thought of, so these days of the week
now I'm booked.
Yeah. And but I think there's other stuff that I would... This is where I'm processing. And so I know a few weeks from now, I'm going to look back on this episode and go, oh, look, I was just a baby. I had no idea that I was going to do this and this and this. But it did trigger, and it's almost enough to not go. Like, I had this anxiety last night and before I went to the audition today, and I was like, maybe this is a sign I shouldn't do this thing, because maybe it would feel better if it was the right thing for me. But then it's like, no, sometimes your brain lies to you because it's going through anxiety and you're afraid of what it's going to mean, and am I going to fall on my face? Am I going to leave in a big fiery ball of horrible, everybody swearing at me and kicking me out?
So it's kind of fight or flight happening all at the same time in your head.
Immediately. You start catastrophizing everything, and you start living out all the worst case scenarios. And so, like, is that a sign that I shouldn't do it? Deciphering that is like, maybe some of this is anxiety. Yeah. But I do know that when I make plans, but some things feel really good from the very beginning. Like, I didn't have I could look back at other episodes, but I didn't have anxiety about the Songwriter Circle. I was so
You were
thrilled.
very excited.
I was very, very excited. But with this, it's like, well, it's pretty far out of town. It's going to take me away from the family. And I came home today after spending most of the day, traveled out to the audition, and it's, far from St. John's. And I came back and I was just looking at my kids, and they went to bed early, and I was just looking at them going, I miss them today. Like, I just had this overwhelming sensation of They're getting older. How much time do I have left? Can I afford to be away from them for all these days that I'm going to be out of town?
It's a good trial run.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of it's like, I can't make a decision from an exhausted space.
That's true,
so
yeah.
I really don't know. So I'm going to sleep on it and see how I feel in the morning. But it was a really, really nice experience, and that's really great. It's nice to know that there's really great people out there that are doing really good work and who liked me. And
creative stuff is always there's always something to it.
But it was very scary, and that was almost enough for me to say I'm not even going to the audition because I'm nervous already. But those are things that figuring out, if I liked myself, what would I say right now? Or if this is a new thing. So of course there are going to be scary thoughts of what if I fall down? What if I mess up? What if I, can't handle it? What if I have an anxiety attack? What if on stage? Or what if I get really stressed out and I have a bad show and I really cannot function the next day and go to the next one? There's a lot of those things that's like, can I function in the world or am I done?
Yeah.
That's a really,
Now, there's also, I will say, you have some anxiety talk in this interview with Nicole. Talking about being anxious about putting stuff out and doing it anyway. And so you had a good chat.
I think so we're going to throw to that interview now just a minute. We had a really great conversation. And I feel like we connected on the self-publishing thing. And then she does marketing. And I'm fascinated by what she does. And, we built on having something in common, and then it built from there. And she was just, I think, surrounding yourself with supportive people. I do not do what she does. I have no idea her expertise. She's
she's a dental hygienist.
I don't know anything about that.
But you overlap with the marketing and the self-publishing.
But we have common interests, and so I'm not competing with her I'm not trying to get marketing gigs with dental hygienist clinics or so there's so we can actually help each other in what we're doing, and it's really nice to.
We should do one of those things though, where it's like wait till you see what happens after the interview. So people stick around. They do that wait.
Well, we're going to come back afterwards, and we're going to share we got some exciting stuff coming up, and you can come back after the interview.
Yeah, we'll be back.
But it was a very candid, very comfortable. I mean, I think Nicole needs her own podcast. I think she would be amazing.
You guys you had good chemistry.
We could have talked for hours, and I mean, if I had it on my schedule to get together with Nicole every week, and I do not mean this in a bad way about the show that I auditioned for. It's just that it's
anxiety.
It's just
okay.
a new thing, and it's really far, and I'd miss the kids, and there's no way to bring them. But when I have something on my calendar that I'm looking forward to, it's a completely different.
That's true.
It's such a I'm excited, and I can't wait. And being having someone to check in with every week and say, "Hey, what'd you do this week?" And did anything bother you? Or
socializing is
anything
great.
you're carrying, or or was there any things that you want to celebrate? Now that's really. But it is it's almost like an accountability, and you could do that. I could just have a phone call with somebody.
That's true.
But I love podcasts.
So let's do this. Let's do this interview, and then we'll be back afterwards, and that'll be it for us this week.
Yeah. So this is Nicole Kielly, dental hygienist extraordinaire.
All right. We'll be back.
I'm Vickie Morgan, and I'm here at Dental Hygiene Studio with Nicole Kielly, my hero. She's my hero. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I'm actually... so Nicole Kielly is a dental hygienist, and she runs Dental Hygiene Studio. So technically it's in St. John's, but if you're trying to find it, if you know where the Son of a Critch House is, it's just down the road from that, right?
Yeah.
Are you down the road or up the road?
Down to the left off the highway. Yeah. So we're technically, when you come off the highway, left is Logie Bay and right is St. John's. So when you turn left, you're in the town of Logie Bay, but you're right in front of that house.
Yep.
When you come off the highway.
So when you're out doing your sightseeing and you're wondering where that thing is shot, that's the house. So you want to do your tourism thing and go down. I don't know. Do people live there?
Yeah,
I think
it's I always assumed it's the people who own the hair salon, but I could be totally off. They used to have the flowers there for VOCM for a little while, and one day people came in. Toby and Shannon were traumatized, my staff, because there was a car with a moose on top of it, and we all thought it was a real accident, but it wasn't. It was filmed. We didn't realize until we were watching because we didn't see the film crew there. But
I feel like there's a story like that from Hudson and Rex where someone came home and there was a bunch of cops in front of their house, but it was just so it is a really great city in that way because there's a lot of stuff going on. So Logie Bay is still part of St. John's municipality.
No, it's Logie Bay municipality.
Is it really?
Yeah. So this is
Logie Bay, Outer Cove, Middle Cove?
Yeah. So we're Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove, and we're in the same building as the Needs with the Liquor Store Express. So generally, people are like. And for marketing,
you need right there.
People see we're in Logie Bay and they think we're out in the sticks. So people generally come early because they think we're way down. Yep. But then we say we're in the Needs with the Liquor Store Express, and people are like, I know where that is.
Gotcha. So it's close enough to the city.
Yeah, it's right
the
city's just down the road.
Yeah.
It's just down the road.
And you can see the Critch House on the way up. So so Nicole so you've been running this place for, how long have you had this studio?
I think 2017 I opened up at the back of this building. I was a really small unit, like a 500 square foot unit. And then March 2020, well, that's a lie. Before that, I came up to the bigger space, plumbed up everything on March 16th, 2020, and we were mandated close like the next day. Yeah, so we have moved.
We started the Mulberry Creek Hour that day. Oh, we had a radio show, and we weren't allowed back in the studio, so we started producing in our basement, which led to digitally sending files back and forth for broadcasters and things like that. So that kind of evolve into the podcast and all those things. Like all the gear that we bought and all the stuff we learned how to do remotely, because otherwise we'd go into a radio studio, press record, and walk away.
Everything was there.
It was all done, and we didn't have to do
make
anything.
The
We're having to figure out how to do it all at home and all the audio editing.
Can't
and stuff.
imagine.
It was really great.
I can't. Yeah.
The pandemic worked out for a lot of people.
It gave you something to do. We played a lot of Yahtzee.
Oh my god.
We
played Pokemon. Oh my god. So tell me about your background. So you were dental hygienist for a long time, and you started your own practice in 2020.
Yeah. 2017.
2017, right.
Yeah, was when I opened up.
Gotcha. And so you moved to a bigger space the day before the shutdowns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's fascinating about Nicole to me is that she has this marketing brain that is just amazing. So I'm gonna try to go step by step because I'm so excited to be here. Okay. So when I came in, I knew that Nicole had published a coloring book and a bilingual children's book, which is absolutely fascinating to me. And so I just want to, so you tell me why you self-published. What was your, because she has this marketing brain, and so you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, and you have this other skill where you're actually in people's mouths.
Yeah.
So, but you also have this other thing that you do for other dental hygienists.
Yeah.
So you're like 15 people all at once. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me what the self-publishing, tell me what was your approach to why you did that?
So I feel like I haven't been good at telling stories lately, but I've always lived by thinking, does this make a good story? So when I first opened my practice, marketing was so expensive. Like I remember I contacted a few companies and I was like, I'd like to get a logo made. And they were like, it might have only been $600, but I was like, oh my God, that's so expensive. And so I started creating content for social media that mimicked some of the conversations I was having in my new space. But one of my biggest struggles with marketing is just letting people know we exist, right? There's a few challenges. People don't know they can see a hygienist outside of a traditional clinic, and that's been since 2013. We've been self-regulated. So it's a lot to educate people. So when you're talking about messaging for marketing, it's hard to say, we exist, we're different, but we're not weird, we're the same, but not really. Like we're covered under insurance. So there's a bunch of frequently asked questions you try to throw in. So one of my things that I did early on to market myself that in that time was affordable was I did oral health presentations. I went out into the community. I did radio interviews, and it was all a way to get to promote my business without selling, right? Because back then when I was thinking selling a service, especially a health service that people need, it feels kind of icky, right? So I did this whole growth by contribution thing. And then when it started to work, we built up a following, and I started to think more about what sparks conversation. What are people talking about that brings me up in conversation that's not just about what we do and how we do it? And that's when the coloring book was like a perfect storm, because the US election was in October. So I had messed up my algorithm. Like TikTok, I love being entertained. I love following content creators. But the election, I was watching college debates exclusively. And so it was great because I was getting educated. It was like Harvard college debates, opinions I didn't agree with. But it messed up my algorithm and there was no fun left. And it was a place where I went for entertainment, right? Yeah. So then I'm like, where can I be entertained? And I happened to see a video of someone coloring. And I tried to, have you ever done the adult coloring fad? Yes. Do you remember years ago? I sat next to a man on a plane who was coloring like a mandala outside the lines because he was on a plane. And I realized something that made me realize how different I was than other people, because I had to resist the urge to grab that from him and throw it up the aisle. Yeah. And so it was around the same time I had tried it. But you sit down to do this mandala and you're outside the lines because it's impossible not to. It takes 27,000 hours to finish a page. And I loved color. I love the idea of coloring. But like, it wasn't for me.
That would make me so crazy.
Oh my God.
So all I can see is Seinfeld when she's on the plane and she's like, I hope this plane drives right into a mountain. That'd be me sitting next to the guy coloring on Subway. Or when someone bites a Kit Kat and it's not on the cruise.
Oh, I did a video of that. Did you see that? I did a video just to see how it would go, and it's just me cracking open a Kit Kat bar, and I bite into it, and it didn't like go anywhere, but like I was like, this would drive me crazy.
So glad I didn't see that.
Oh, so bad.
I don't know if we could be friends if I saw that. Oh my God. Ew. Okay, sorry.
That's okay. So with the coloring book, I was like, you know what? Like I ordered one because like there's this new fad with chunky coloring, like coloring that looks like it's for toddlers, but it's for adults. Yeah. And the lines are thick. Yeah. Easy to stay within it. People are using these cool markers.
And nice paper. When it's like beige paper, it must be nice white paper.
I started on Eli, so I have a 2.5-year-old at the time. And anyways, I was like, I have a disorder where I'm like, I can make this. I can do this. I can do this better. Like you said something earlier. Oh, screen printing shirts. How you were like, because I said, who prints your shirts? And Josh is like, we do that. I'm like, you guys have what I have. Because I don't think most normal people, when faced with a challenge, are like, I'll just do it myself. So
it doesn't cross my mind. Oh, I could probably pay somebody to do that. It doesn't cross my mind. It's like there's a Google search or YouTube video that's going to show me how somebody else did it.
Exactly. Yeah. So through my just like, I had gained the audience of like other hygienists who were like, hey, can you create content for me? And I'm like, absolutely. So like, I got to charge these people. So it was kind of the same thing so the hygienist had reached out and I had built my skills because I'm not just creating content for me anymore. I'm creating it for 23 clinics. So when I saw the coloring book, I was like, I could do this. Like I've got the skills that it takes to just draw lines. So then I was like, shag it. And I'm not even exaggerating, Vickie, from when I had ordered a coloring book from Amazon. Before it came, within 2 days, I had a draft made. I had it sent to the printers, but from inception to picking up my first copy was 4 days. Yeah. It was bananas. Nice. And I was like, and then someone said something about me being an author. I'm like, I'm not an author. I did a coloring book.
After
that's
spending
ridiculous.
time with you, I'm not surprised. This is 4 days. But I think that's how it happens. It comes out and it's giving yourself permission. Like,
absolutely.
I don't make books, but yes, you do. You can't ever say that again. I want to go back to something you said. You said you have 23 clients. Yeah. So not only do you run your own practice, but you do marketing for 23 other dental hygienist clinics across Canada. Yeah. Right. How do you start to charge someone who's in the same field? And how do you get away from the camaraderie? Oh, you did that for you. Why don't you just do it for me as a friend? Like, how did you initially set up a price and tell your friend, I'll do this for you, but here's how much it's going to cost? How did you value yourself?
So I'm still kind of working on that. I think that anyone who's charging a fee for service, because I only charge for hands and mouth. So if you ask me how much a visit with me is for a dental cleaning, I can give you like some numbers, right? Yeah. So what happened with me, it's a similar path to other people I've heard in the service-based industry who've branched out. Someone messaged me on social media and said, I love your stuff. So it was Terry from Sparkling Smiles. And she was my first client and continues to be a client. She's been with me the whole time. But she was like, who creates this content for you? And I said, I do it myself. And she said, can you do it for me? I was like, absolutely. Like, how much is it worth to you? And then I think we kind of negotiated that first price. And then from working with Terry, we were able, and then the more clinics we brought on. So then I had the confidence, right? All it takes is one person to ask. If Terry had never asked, I don't know if I ever would have had the confidence to do it, right? Because it would have taken me longer, I think. So because she asked, I was like, yeah, I can do it for you. Then I did it for her. It caught someone else's attention. Can you do it for me? Sure, I can do it for you. Like,
so when she asked, you were ready.
I was ready because people had
manifesting.
Yes.
Like, you were ready for it, and it showed up when you were ready.
Well, and the other thing that's serendipitous that had happened around the same time is somebody had like borrowed my stuff, right? Had cropped out my watermark and reused it, and didn't like. So I had to have that.
How did you find out?
People were really quick to tell me, right? Like, and so they sent me. They recognized, and it wasn't one that it wasn't like a stock image. It was one that I actually put time into, and I was drawing on pages on Mac. Like, so this was one that I had created myself. It wasn't something I put together, and someone had taken it, and it's like that. you feel violated.
Absolutely.
Like I spend time on that. You could have at least given me credit, right? And it was such a difficult conversation to have.
But you had a conversation about it?
But I had a conversation. I asked her and she took it down. Like she reposted it with my watermark. So then I was like, okay, people want this enough that they're willing to borrow it from me. Then Terry had asked if I could do it.
Yeah.
And it was perfect because it's not enough to just share it. It's like part of your brand identity, right? And it's not enough to just take it from someone else and use it. It'll never be. And now I kind of look at it differently. I'm a little bit flattered. I can't say flattered, but when someone imitates it. But the truth is we found messaging that works. We made it work. I have a proof of concept. We've grown our practice year over year, and I can help other people grow their practices.
So you have a little boy.
Yeah.
You have a practice, and you have 23 clients.
Yeah.
So what do you do for fun?
I make coloring books. I color.
So tell me about the coloring book. Where'd you get it printed? Like tell me what the process was for you to design it. You said you used pages on your...
Well, now I use, Canva is one of my biggest tools.
Yep.
And when I made that coloring book, that was still like my main tool. Mm-hmm. I connected with a local printer who had helped me at the Hub. So I used Becky at the Hub, and she had helped me print those little pamphlets. Mm-hmm. I went into her with like a tinier version, and I was like when I realized it was affordable, because the Hub is a not-for-profit printing agency within the Hub, which is like a disability.
They're the biggest printer in the province.
I believe it, and they're so busy. But when I realized, because I don't know about you, Vickie, I fantasize that technology is all going to implode on itself, and that I want Eli to have a pager. When he's 12, I want us to go so far back that I'm putting a cassette in my car and Eli's paging me. But I think there's something to be said about paper, like something that you hold, right? Something that you own. And I had done all kinds of digital stuff.
About getting locked in Staples? I would write on every piece of paper.
Oh my God, I would use every pen.
You know that episode
I
of
love
Dawson's Creek where they get locked in the department store? My dream is
just
Staples.
Unlocked a memory. But I love paper. And I was the kid. I remember going to school and buying school supplies and sitting down on the floor in our local department store, which was North Mart, because we didn't have a Walmart in Labrador. I grew up in Labrador. And like sizing up all the Hilroy paper to find the pack that had the best lines. Mm. Like it was so important to me to have good solid paper. But I love the idea of owning a thing and having a thing. Yeah. And so I help my other hygienists too with leveraging like I showed you a little pamphlet that I made, so I'm also going to do that for other hygienists and brand it as like a thing to give away. But I love the idea of print and paper. And I know we also recycle a whole lot here. Mm. We recycle toothbrushes and floss sticks. We do all that. But I do love the idea of having something that you can do and like unplugging.
It's
so I can color.
Have an actual thing in your hands.
100%. And this whole coloring, I've passed it on to friends. We've got some of my husband's guy friends are sending me pictures of coloring, because like a lot of people don't realize they just need a mental break, right? They don't want to watch TV. They don't want to do stuff.
I remember there was a trend, I think when my nieces and nephews were in school, because we had coloring pages, and I might be a little tiny bit older than you, but there was this trend where they were giving kids blank sheets of paper with nothing. They wanted to create their own artwork, which is great, but coloring in a shape is so satisfying.
100%. So satisfying.
Anything moving in your hands, I'm not a religious person, but like that's why rosary beads were invented.
Oh, definitely.
This
tactile.
is more science. You can put this in a clip. But like things that pass through your fingers, actually, like crocheting, knitting, anything that makes movement in your hands is a sensory thing.
Yeah.
But to see it come together, it's pretty, and you can color outside the lines if you want to. Well, I love coloring books.
And I love color. Like the couple things in my life that when you look at business values, like we have values here, like accessibility, innovation, access to care, but like I want to value fun and I want to value color. Like color makes me happy. Like, and sometimes even like black is fine, right? But seeing color and having like markers, bright markers, I invested in it. There's a whole world of markers out there. If anyone's listening to this podcast, you're probably going to get hit with a bunch of coloring content. But there's these like fancy alcohol-based markers with brush tips. Yep. And so it feels like you're coloring.
Michael's would be the other place I'd want to get locked into.
I love Michael's.
That coupon, I swear.
I know. Oh Brian, my husband has a theory, though. Everything's 30% more expensive.
It is. They were sued. They were sued. Oh. I think it was a couple of years ago. Last year they were like, we're not doing any more coupons. And I went Google, why is this happening? And it was because they were being sued. And then it's back to normal.
Totally back to normal.
They actually had a coupon where you could get 2 things for 30% off. And I just about bought it. Instacart will go to Michael's for you. It's not nearly. It's no fun. Who would do that? Why would do that? Like, go to the store. I mean, that's the whole point of it.
Yeah. No, but not always. Now I'm like, I need a thing.
If you know what you want.
bring me the thing. Yeah. Browsing doesn't do it for me anymore. Interesting.
I don't know if they do in-store pricing though. That's the thing, and they won't use your coupon. So you got to pay. So you are paying 30% and plus the delivery. So the coloring book, I do love the alcohol-based markers. They're fantastic.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'm gonna give you and Josh some to try out. There's some in your package.
Oh, fantastic! Gift packages. I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so this one was printed here locally.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the children's book. So the coloring book came first.
Yep. So the whole concept. We were talking a lot about monsters. It's funny because when you have a kid, you have this whole new perception of things. And there's things that creep into your life. Like, I had no idea monsters would play such a big role in my life. Because all the characters on Sesame Street are monsters. Right? And so it's like they kind of like are destigmatizing monsters. And so
there was a song years ago, and it was called Ugly. There are millions of us that are ugly. And it was all these ugly monsters. And it was... Like, I don't know what their intention was, but I felt so seen.
Oh my God.
It was okay to not feel pretty.
Do you know where I thought you were going to go with that? Is Grover does a song called Monster in the Mirror. And it's, I can't remember, but, it's so good. It's like an old classic, but Eli sings that. And it's all about, like, you don't need to be afraid.
And what's the Kermit one? Not Easy Being Green. And there's one it's one he does with his little nephew. I can't think of it.
I can picture him on a log with his nephew, though. That's so funny.
What is that song?
Is it Over the Rainbow? Do they do one of those?
They did that, but there was another one that they did. It was super sweet.
I know.
With the banjo. They're so real to me. Like those characters. But those characters, they speak. And I think people figure, well, I'm not 10 years old anymore, so I can't have children's characters, but that's so not true.
As a dental hygienist, I have been humbled and I've been challenged. I reevaluate every piece of advice I've given someone about brushing their kids' teeth because I have struggled with it so bad. So it was kind of the perfect storm because Eli's toothbrush had a monster on it. So I was saying, there's a monster on your toothbrush. A whole lot. So that was his first toothbrush. It was a monster toothbrush. But when I made the coloring book, I think a lot of people assume it's for kids, but I definitely have marketed it more towards, like I posted videos of myself coloring and they get a good bit of traction. Yep. So when I showed it to him, he literally didn't care. He's like, whatever, this is stupid. Like it did not catch his attention at all, but it was for me. So I wasn't insulted, but that was where it all started. But then the book was the follow-up to get him to brush his teeth. And I think in having a kid, I'd like to meet an author who has written a children's book without being fully immersed in children, because I feel like you don't realize how silly words make a big difference, how describing things make a big difference. Like I would have not been able to write anything this short or this foolish without having been exposed to like a 2-year-old. Yeah. And he thought I was a rock star. I've got a video of him watching me read this for the first, like when I'm still in the editing process. He liked the book? He loved it. He went and brushed his teeth right away. Ate an avocado because there's avocados in the book.
So I have a question. This is because my brain went, I was thinking about something else. Is this what his toothbrush looked like?
No, so in my recent edit, I don't think I have one here. I've actually, because when I put this together, so with Canva, when it comes to the legalities, you can't take an element from Canva and just make it your own. You can't take something and just sell it as a standalone. But the minute you group things together with Canva Pro account, it's yours as long as you change it. Okay. So this was all changed. But after doing this, I've built my whole business with Canva. I found it was a real practical tool, but I needed more flexibility to change things, to draw my own thing. So after I put this out, I learned how to use Adobe, and that was when things really opened up for me. So I actually, in the most recent edition of the coloring book, there is a version of the monster from Eli's toothbrush, and it kind of felt good. It was nice to do a first draft, right? And this was always kind of meant to be a first draft to see if everything held up. And I wish I'd found your podcast, because when you first came across me in LinkedIn, the last podcast you put up was like Self Publishing, and you went, I swear to God, there was a 2-minute section where you're like, so yeah, you can do Kindle printing, and then you need the ISBNs, and you went, I'm like, if I had listened to those few words thrown together, because I literally went and created books without, I had to go through research. Like I was like, it wasn't until I was like, how do you sell something on Amazon? How do you do this? How do you do that? But if I had found your podcast before I had created everything, I would have had an easier time.
And truthfully, I probably did that podcast the week before you saw it. So, which is so amazing to me, because we sit in our basement, we do the podcast, and I go, who would want to hear this? Like, who out there possibly needs to hear this? Like, this is such a waste of time for everybody.
No, so interesting.
So that answers the question for me.
Yeah.
Like that really brings it home.
Absolutely. Oh,
so the reason I love self-publishing is, like, I think people, any business that you do, whether you're making clay pots or cleaning people's teeth or whatever, making cutting turf, like those are all things that you've decided, this is how I present to the world. This is what I'm willing to do in exchange for money.
Yeah.
And so, but you are selling yourself no matter what it is. And if you decide tomorrow you're going to have a different career, you are selling yourself. And you have to do this internal work to do marketing. Like I can market for other people very easily. Yeah. But when it comes to myself, I really struggle with who would want this? Like who would ever get any value of what I have to say? And so it's really, you kind of have to circle back to self-publishing. Like, first of all, there are people, like, I'm trying to figure out I'm trying to remember that people are coming from different places. Not everybody wants to be a published author with their name on the spine of the book on the shelf.
Yeah.
Like, the marketing opportunities that come into telling people what you know and putting it in a book. It doesn't need to be a 150-page, opus. It can be a pamphlet. It can be a little thing. Like, you can do mini books now that are just, but putting all your knowledge into a place is the same as, where'd the business card go?
Oh, it fell.
It's a business card.
Yeah.
It's a business card. So when you say to somebody, this tells me that this business exists, and it tells me that there's a name, this is a name that I could ask for, but this tells me this person who wrote this, and it looks so good that it's almost like this must be just standard, like a textbook.
Well, the way I think about it is, what if in 100 years from now, somebody finds this little copy of a book and they pick, or aliens come down, whatever it is, and they find this little book and it's like the manifesto. It is like, it is it was a moment of time, but it was like, these are the details that were important.
This is what we thought dental hygiene was in 2020. and this is so cute. And so then beyond the pamphlet, then there's the coloring book. And this is something that you did for fun because you had a 2-year-old
for myself
who was like the grind of trying to teach children to take care of themselves and all that stuff that's a stage. And then there's a children's book. And I absolutely agree with you. This is not a slight against anybody that doesn't have kids and wanted to write a kid's book.
It's almost impressive. It's impressive when I'd like to see, like, if I found out, did Robert Munch have children? Because if he didn't, or Dr. Seuss. I mean, Dr. Seuss might have been.
Oh,
did he?
I think so.
Yeah,
he also
that makes
had
sense.
severe mental illness.
Oh, yeah.
And like this is how he focused his energy and he created things. So I think there's like an inspired kind of moment of when people are drawn to this thing. And it's like people write it off so easy, like, oh, I couldn't do that, or I couldn't write a book, or who would want to read what I would write?
Yeah.
But it's like if you have that inkling, that's your sign that you should be doing it. Because not everybody gets that.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to be doing on a podcast. Not everybody wants to be on radio. Not everybody wants to be on TV. But when you do, there's a million reasons not to do something.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want to talk about self-publishing this book because this is impressive and it's bilingual.
It's a great opportunity because I haven't actually published this one in any other shape other than this learning resource. So it's a good time to talk to you about it.
I love that. So all those things, so there's a few little trippings. What I've found with self-publishing is that there's a couple of different spots where people trip up.
Yeah.
Very, very smart people too. Not like this is... but it's also very accessible, and you don't need to have like a PhD to figure something, like to get this stuff done either. But when you sign up for Amazon, there's an interview that you do as a text interview. And if you're in Canada, it's a little bit easier in the US because you just put in your social and your SIN. What's it called down there? Your socials. You put in your social and it just, you get a text form at the end of the year. But in Canada, there's a form. And if you're in like Mexico or France or wherever, there's an interview, and it's just a few questions, and it'll say, what country do you live in? Okay. Do you have a U.S. tax ID? And it just, all it is we are going to collect money through Amazon. Do we need to be taking tax out for you? That's all it really comes down to. But that alone, like all the legal speak that's there, that's one thing that trips up people.
Yeah, absolutely. Be like, I don't know what this means.
It seems too scary. Banking information. What if they get my banking information? Am I really on even Amazon? What's KDP? So it trips people up and scares people. And for me, that was like, I left it alone for probably a month. Like, it's not worth it. I don't want to write that bad. Because I don't want to, So that scared me. And then the next stage was the ISBN. Yeah. Which was like in the US, you had to pay for them. They were like $125 per ISBN. And you need one for audiobook, ebook, and every version of the book.
And every different format. Because that's one thing. Every format. Because like my coloring book went from having a spine to having like a... To having a spiral bound, and that was considered a difference. So if that had required the ISBN,
or if you do a hardcover,
a hardcover,
or audiobook or ebook also has it. So in Canada, ISBNs are free. Yeah, and there's a process, and that's another thing. I went through the process, and it was very scary. But I got a call from a lovely lady at the Oh, God,
it's the government who does it. Like, I didn't realize that. It's like a sector of the government.
But it's the friendliest
no.
ever. And so this lady calls me, and she goes, I just had a couple of questions. I went, oh, this is it. I knew it was going to happen. But she just said, I just wanted to know how many books you're planning on publishing. And I went, one? I don't know. I just got one book. And she went, well, are you sure? Because since you're here and you're going through the process, like, maybe, do you need more than that? And I said, I don't know. Maybe, I guess I could see myself maybe printing another one of these days. She goes, how about I give you 100? So I have 100 ISBNs sitting there. I set it up as a publisher. We call it Empower. So it's all there. And so, like, when you work with me and you self-publish with... It's still self-publishing, but I just do the stuff that people don't like to do, like formatting, which is a nightmare.
Yeah.
But I know how to do it. And I know it's really hard to show somebody else how to do it. So I can take those things on, give the ISBN, and do all those things. But it's also super easy to do on your own.
Yeah.
But the ISBN was one thing that really trips people up. Like, do I even need one? And what's it for? And... like, and then there's a 13-digit one, there's 11, and there's all those little things that's like, you know what, you don't need to worry about this. Be a writer.
Yeah.
Write your book, send me the manuscript, and we'll take it from there, because
that's excellent.
The work is the writing. Like,
yeah.
And putting on that marketing hat or the publishing hat is like a different space, and it's absolutely accessible and it's easy and you can learn it. But if you can, pass it over to somebody else and start on the next book.
And you know what? Like, the other thing that happened during my coloring book is I had recently, it's no surprise to people who know me, but I was recently diagnosed and medicated for ADHD.
No.
And around the same time, everyone was like, wow, like, big surprise. My husband's like, are you sure? And then I went through all the things. He's like, yeah, no, you got that. But I also, around the same time of that, I started working with a business. So I got some executive coaching from BDC because I was just having this trouble. Like, I'm very persuasive, but I've never had a plan. I don't have a business plan, even now. And it's going against me now because I don't know what I'm doing. But sometimes I'm like, I think I'm doing it okay. Yeah. But one thing I'm working with my coach is I realized I had all these ideas that had gone like 80% of the way, right? 90% of the way. It's that last 10 to 20% that I was just like, no, it's hard now. I'm going to stop. And when I got the coloring book, that's what I felt like dangerous. I'm like, am I now unstoppable? Because I had an idea. I executed it. I went through the printing. And generally before that, my personality was have an idea, put a lot of work into it, not really go anywhere with that, and then have wasted a lot of time, but learning something cool, right? But like, so with that, with what you're saying now, like, I could easily have gotten further in with this and then been like, no, wait, this is too much. This is too hard, and drop it. Because the ISBN thing was what tripped me up when I didn't even need it for the coloring book because the guy's like, there's no words inside of it. Why would you need an ISBN? I'm like, I'm just here because someone told me I needed to do this.
And so it's not lost work because now it's 85% done.
Absolutely. So now I'm going back and I'm finishing all the, like, it was great. For a while, I felt like, and that's the thing with ADHD is a lot of times you don't get the sense of accomplishing a thing because you never finish the thing, or you're multitasking. So you don't get the satisfaction of finishing a thing and like being like, I'm done with that. Because you're doing so much at once.
My fear is when if I have a show coming up or like finishing this sweater that I wore today. I had a show last week. And
finishing it?
Yeah.
Did you make that?
I crocheted this sweater.
What?
I actually made 3.
Is it not finished yet? You wore it today?
No, it's finished.
Oh, okay.
Because I've improved on this. My fear is, okay, I'm doing this thing for stress and anxiety. It's making me feel better. What's next? If I finish this, what's coming next? So like the fallout right after a show. Like Thursday I did a show. Friday I was in bed. I was a basket case. I was inconsolable. I was crying most of the day just because what do I do now? I don't have anything else on the calendar. I was looking forward to this for a month. So I was so nervous about the show that we did last week. I knit one sweater and crocheted 2 others.
Oh my God.
And it's to keep my hands busy, but I'm getting a little bit better at finishing a project and like planning for before I finish the first one. Josh even said, because I bought a bunch of yarn at Michael's. I bought a big pile of white and a big pile of brown. And I was like, maybe I want to start a white and brown one. And Josh was like, can you just finish this one first? I was like, but what? So I did a white one and a brown one and a blue one in the past month.
That is so funny. Well, when I first did this first print of this book, so I didn't know what I was doing, immediately I was like, I'm going to put another one on. So it's like, there's a carrot, look like coming soon, but then that evolved into the carrot actually being on the toothbrush. So I looked at this and I'm like, oh shit, there's a carrot on my toothbrush, but maybe the carrot should be on the bristles, right? But I was kind of the same way because I had so much fun doing it. I'm like, well, what am I going to do next? So you pre-plan. I can see how that's a good way of doing it. You don't do that with your other things though, right? Because with show, because I guess with shows, they come up like sporadically, so you don't always know when the next one is, right?
For my own mental health, I think it's important to at least imagine what's coming.
It's nice to look forward to something. I think that post-COVID, we're all looking for something to look forward to.
And it's okay to be excited about stuff.
Absolutely.
And so planning for the next thing and planning for the next book is really, like, I think what happens too, when you open that door creatively, then creative ideas go, oh, she's a safe space. She'll take care, like this idea, she'll cultivate this and she'll grow this and she'll make this thing happen. Yeah. And I think, I don't know if you believe in that stuff, but I think these ideas are all floating around and they're looking for a receptive.
Absolutely.
It's like frequencies. It's like radio frequencies. If you're tuned to, please don't give me any ideas. I only want to do office work. That's what you'll get. Yeah. But if you're like, you know what? Doing the coloring book was kind of fun. Guess what showed up right after? Yeah. This book came out 6 months ago. Yeah. And you have this one already. Yeah. And this was the second one. Yeah. So this is 2 in the last.
That's so true. And like this one, I don't know about you, but like when I start creating things now, especially paper, I'm like, this is an asset. This is something I'm going to turn into a virtual presentation.
This didn't turn it into. Ricky Gervais talks about it. He said this thing existed. It exists now. You created this, but it didn't exist before. You made a thing.
And now there's like and that's what I like about the tangible, like the real the hard copies. Like now it's a thing. Like I'm in a book club and I've only recently, since I've had Eli, switched to audiobooks. But like I long to own a thing. Like I don't own anything anymore. And Brian's like, oh, I'll read that book when you're done. I'm like, oh no, it's audio and then it's on my account. So I can't just put my account on your phone. Like, cause then.
I think a lot of people buy the paperback copies.
Yeah. That's what we were saying. Yeah. Yeah,
it's a good idea.
That totally
so this is this is a bilingual. It's called "There's a Carrot on My Toothbrush," and I'm not going to even. Can you tell us the French name?
Oh, il y a une carotte sur ma brosse à dents.
Oh. Josh, do you want to try it? Josh from North Carolina, where he learned Spanish as a second language, and he likes to make fun of French. And we get him to read menus.
I don't make fun of French. I'm really good at it.
No, he's not. Would you like to come on camera and read this book to us? Because it would be hilarious. This is absolutely beautiful. So tell me a little bit more about, I feel like this is, I know what I was going to say earlier. There are different stages of purchasing.
Okay.
And so I love this part of it. Like you're up against people, because people have a fear of dentists and they have a fear of dental clinics and all the smells and the drills and the sounds and the sensations and the shaming and the have you flossed, and I've had so many experiences in a dentist chair that I don't care to even think about. But so there's stages in buying. Like people sometimes are not even aware. Like we talked about this on a podcast a few weeks back, where somebody, I use DVD players as the example because that's what we used in school. So someone has a DVD player and it's working and everything's fine. But then you're putting in your Dawson's Creek DVD and all of a sudden it's skipping and it's, you're trying to do that scene where Joey and Pacey finally get together and it starts to skip on you. And it's like, that's all I wanted to watch over and over. Excuse me, I'm having a rough day. But if you went to Best Buy right now and somebody tried to sell you a DVD player, you're going to go, it's not even on your radar. Yeah. So there's not even an awareness that you need it. But once it breaks and completely and you're home and you're having a rough day and you can't watch Dawson's Creek, I don't know if I'm being relatable here, but going into Best Buy, you're looking for possible replacements at first. The next one, you're looking at, maybe I'll go in and make a purchase. But if someone tries to sell to you when you're not even aware that you need one, or when you're not, like when you're thinking about buying one but you're researching, you're not ready to buy. And as a dental hygienist, you're up against this. Like, not only do people need it, but they don't want to even admit that they need it. Like, there's such an education piece of it that to even get to that awareness stage. Yeah. So I'm amazing that you're just tackling it. You're just going face and eyes into it, because that's what this does.
Absolutely.
This makes it more, and this is definitely geared towards adults. Yeah. Like, I know kids could color it, but this is definitely geared towards speaking to an adult. Because most people, marketing is mostly geared towards 12-year-olds. Yeah, the messaging is for 12-year-olds, and people need to hear things 9 or 10 times before it actually gets in. So when you're posting on Facebook and you go, oh, I've posted this at least twice, everybody knows about my book already. They don't. Yeah. They need it. People need, and are you using your Facebook for marketing? That's a whole different thing. Like, are we just putting personal things on there? And in LinkedIn, all those different avenues, it takes a long time to get the message through.
And I haven't been like, I need to get better at telling the story, right? Because like even just showing up on LinkedIn for a hot second, I connected with you almost right away. And when it comes to letting...
I was so excited. Because I had been following you.
I know, it's so funny.
Because your friend Vickie, our friend Vickie, had mentioned you and how brilliant you were at your marketing. And I was like, a dental hygienist at marketing? Oh my God. And
it's so
that
funny.
Endorsement from Vickie Murphy is, she is like the guru, right? She's brilliant.
And it's funny because when I saw your profile come up before, because I was going to reach out, was going to comment about your, because I went and saw your most recent podcast episode. I'm like, it's about self-publishing. What the heck? So I went and updated my LinkedIn profile before I made the comment, and then we connected outside of there. But like, I think that when it comes to having a business, especially when you're a health professional, you don't want to feel like you're selling. Even when I worked in a dental clinic, when we're talking about people needing crowns or whatever, like there's a sales a sales kind of nuance to it, but it's still healthcare, right? And so I think that one of my strategies with doing this kind of thing is it puts me on the radar, right? Like people are talking. I was at Old Navy one day, and this lady, I was having like, I just lost, you know how Old Navy gives you out a coupon?
Yeah.
I was holding on to this thing like my life depended on it. And I was getting all of our Christmas pajamas because they had this, like you can get 40% off of $200 purchase. So I literally had everything like mapped out in my head. Trying to find matching pajamas for 3 people is way harder than you'd think. And then I get up to the cash and I couldn't find my coupon. And I was so disappointed with myself. I was so discouraged. And this lady came up, she's like, excuse me. And I thought she was going to give me a coupon. I was like, yeah. She's like, did you publish a coloring book? And I was like, yes, I did. And she works at the school down in the St. Francis of Assisi, and her daughter was there, and her daughter was doing a master's in public health or something. But she came up to me, she's like, I told my mom that she might make you uncomfortable. I'm like, are you kidding? You just made my friggin' day. So it's great because people will see this. They'll know that I'm doing about it. I can go into schools. 100%. I give it to other hygienists. They can go into schools because there was a group I wasn't comfortable connecting with. The little ones, the kids that like, I can't go in, and grade 3s and 4s, I have a digital presentation that I'd like to think is pretty interesting. Yeah. But the little kids, I've gone in and I've overdone. And when I looked for a resource, that was how it started. I looked for a resource. Everything was about going to a dental visit, sitting in the dental chair, which is necessary for that age group. Yeah. But this is like my fun favorite tips, because you and I had a conversation earlier when I had an opportunity to put my hands in your mouth, that when it comes to oral health, it's not always just brushing and flossing. Sometimes it's our habits and how we eat and how we drink and what we eat. So I wanted to put a positive spin. So like the carrot on my toothbrush, when you turn to that page, it's like, oh my goodness, there's a carrot on my toothbrush. It's okay. I was ready for a snack. And then at the bottom, it's like, raw, crunchy vegetables are like nature's toothbrush. They help clean your teeth. And it's not all vegetables. Like there's an avocado there, but there's also a cupcake. And then that page says, you can eating sweet treats with your meal is a great way to enjoy sweet snacks while protecting your teeth. So saving sweets instead of eating them throughout the day. But I wanted to have like a positive emphasis.
Nobody has ever said that to me in my life. Every sugary thing I think I've put in my mouth my entire life.
Because you're told it's bad, right? Yeah, like there's a psychology. How we even because we're so conscious of that now with Eli, we don't even want him to think foods are bad or good, right? Because we don't want him to feel bad because he eats something bad. Right. So we give him a cookie with his supper.
There's more calories when you feel bad.
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
It's so much like bad feelings, right?
It's
and
energy.
So like, exactly. So we try to make it so that just because you eat candy doesn't mean you're bad. And truthfully, crackers cause more cavities. Yeah, I like candy. Yeah. So I wanted to have it. And then I wanted to make it accessible. Yeah, crackers cause more cavities. Crackers turn into especially like goldfish crackers. Don't get me wrong.
They're delicious.
My friends, I've eaten a lot of goldfish crackers at Vickie's and Jacqueline's houses. But they just encourage frequent snacking. So I wanted to take those tips and put them in here as a way to portray them to little children in a positive way.
Is snacking bad for
snacking? So making small snacks last a long time actually increases your risk of cavities. So it takes about an hour, let's say, for your mouth to neutralize. A lot of us were sipping or snacking on something else. So one of the pages talks about drinking water throughout the day is one of the most underrated strategies for preventing cavity. Because if you drink after meals, you're flushing out things faster, your mouth neutralizes faster. Okay. So drinking meals between snacks, after snacks, is a great simple way to prevent cavities. So I want to take all those, and that all comes, most of the ideas in here come from my little booklet that I made, my guiding principles.
So your expertise, and it is expertise, it's amazing to put it into these formats because it makes what you do more accessible. So people aren't as scared. So I know when I talk to somebody and I met somebody just a few weeks ago, and she said she was a dental hygienist, and I immediately shut down and I was covering my mouth because I felt like she's probably judging my teeth. Like she probably has excellent oral hygiene. She probably does this and this and this, and she probably does checkups every 3 months or something. And I just felt really self-conscious just because she said what she does.
Yeah.
But coming up with you and saying, "Did you make a coloring book?" I mean,
I know it's so much nicer,
else.
right?
It's amazing.
And you just touched on something really important. Like when we talk about one of the things I realized when I opened my practice. People found us because they had anxiety. That was generally how it was happening. So I was posting about, how our setting is judgment free. And a lot of dental offices are judgment free, right? But we were coming out and saying, there's no judgment. We know it's hard. If you've gone off track, if you haven't been keeping up with your daily oral health, if you're struggling mentally and your oral health took a back seat, or your oral health took a back seat and now you're struggling mentally, like we're here to help. So we attracted people organically that way. That was how they found us. But trying to let people know we exist because we're another option, right? That's always the goal. We are another option that people don't always think about right off the bat.
I don't know how many options are out there that approach it like that.
I know,
right?
right?
It's really scary. I was wondering when you were talking about brushing your teeth, do you actually, you can tell me, we're friends here. It's just, we only got a few thousand listeners. Do you really want people to brush their teeth? Because if they do a good thing at home, doesn't that kind of cut into your business?
Well, I mean, I can honestly say, part of our pitch when it comes to marketing, there's only so many ways to market dentistry, right? Yeah. There's we do fillings. The truth is the public doesn't care. They know that you do fillings, right? So if you're a traditional dental clinic, there's not face value, a whole lot you can market. Here's our team. Here's what we have for lunch. We take a different approach with marketing where we add value online, and our goal is to build trust by letting you know how to stay out of the dental chair. We want people to spend as little time in our chair and the dentist chair as possible. Okay. So the truth is, if everybody did an amazing job, they would spend less. With prevention focus, it's about checking in with us so we can make sure you're on the right path, right? So even if we do the best job possible, people still need to come in for professional care because you can only do so much at home. Yeah. It's 99% is what you do at home, but it's the 1% in here. But you never know with technology. Maybe cavities will be a thing of the past, hopefully. But for now,
or you can send pictures. You get an X-ray at home. You get a little after this X-ray at home. It could be all kinds of crazy stuff. But that's really, so, man, I could talk to you all day.
I know. There's so many. I'm enjoying our conversation. There's so many things to talk about.
And to be talking about teeth is that is literally the last thing I would ever imagine
talking
about publicly because I have so many more questions.
That's the shame thing. We were talking earlier. The biggest thing about shame is nobody talks about it, right? So people who have uncomfortable feelings about feeling judged about their teeth don't talk about them because you're admitting. Brene Brown, shame. She says empathy is the solution to shame. But how do you give empathy when you don't know someone? Because I always say, I can see dental anxiety. I can track your heart rate. I can see a bead of sweat on your brow. But when you're talking to yourself in the shittiest way, thinking, I don't belong here. I don't deserve to be here. That's what's keeping people out of the dental chair for a lot of times. It's fear of pain, but some people would rather have a dental emergency.
That cycle, too, of fear keeping you out of the chair, so your teeth, your oral health goes downhill, and then you feel worse, so you're not smiling 100%. As much.
And as a dental professional, it can be misconstrued. When there's what's perceived as a lack of empathy, if we don't know you're talking to yourself like that. I got told one time, I was cleaning, had a patient in the chair and I made a crack. It was such a big lesson. I was in private practice. I said, someone hasn't been flossing. And she basically told me to go fuck myself. And I was put off. And when I tell this story, people are like, she should never talk to you like that. But she was like, I am trying. Nothing is ever good enough for you. I'm genuinely trying. And I thought, I wish I could find that patient. I wish he would come out because I've written whole articles about this. But just being told that, you don't know how hard someone's trying. And she's like, I am trying. I'm genuine. And so as a dental professional, I need to respect that some people are trying to do the right thing and it still doesn't look right. Maybe they need a little help. Maybe they need support. Right. But when she comes in and appears to be confident, but she's actually having this cycle of negative self-talk in her head, and I don't know it. And then it's also, if you don't know that, then you say, wow, you haven't been here in a while. That's one of the most loaded things you can say to somebody because immediately they think you're judging them, that they don't deserve to be here.
And your mouth is open.
Exactly.
There's no hiding.
No. It's you go to the gynecologist and then you're going to get your pap done and they're like, someone hasn't been looking after themselves.
But at least at the gynecologist, you're not down there. You're like, you don't see what they're doing. But in your mouth, it's like eye to eye.
It's a real vulnerable thing.
You feel their breath on your cheek. Like, it's so intimate, and it's such a judgment, and you're in such a vulnerable position. So, but the cycle that leads to, well, I'm not going to go back because I haven't been in a while, and it's going to hurt, and they're going to think blah blah blah, and then the whole like,
and then they're like, what's the point? Why bother? Why even do anything?
It just gets bigger
and I
bigger
think
and
that
bigger.
all these things just make me, and I try not to build the business on me because it was a mistake I made in the beginning. Now some of my patients who used to only want to see me only want to see Toby, so that's fine. But I think it makes us more human too.
So this is not a tell me about this clinic, because I think this is very, very important.
Yeah.
This is, what can you have done at your clinic?
So the dental hygiene studio is a dental hygiene clinic. There's no dentist on site. Our patients, so if you were a patient at the clinic, you come in for your hygiene and you see your dentist separately for exam and x-rays and work, whatever needs to be done.
So in an ideal world, how many times a year would you see a dentist?
Depends on your needs, right?
Okay.
Same thing with your dental cleaning. So most people are used to getting their exam once every 12 months, 6 months, 9 months.
Okay.
So the way it works is you come here for your prevention-focused care, and we also do teeth whitening, and then they follow up with their dentist.
Okay.
As a courtesy to all of our patients, when you're on your way at the door, we say, do you want us to let your dentist know we saw you? Then we send a little note to open the communication, because communication was an issue with the dentist. We're not here to replace the dentist. I always say, like, we can't diagnose, but I can say, there's a hole in your tooth. I think it's a cavity. Let's take a picture with our intraoral camera, and we'll send it to your dentist. So we help facilitate care. We don't. We recently finally passed an act that we're now allowed to own equipment and take X-rays. Okay. We haven't gotten to do that yet. Okay. Financially, I need to sell a lot more coloring books before we can purchase the equipment.
So other clinics that I've been to, I think all of them have hygienists and dentists in the same building.
Yeah.
So it seemed to me, and just, you don't need to throw any of your colleagues under the bus or anything, but it seemed to me in the chair that there was kind of a push to, the dental hygienist would kind of push some business towards the dentist. And we've had experiences where there was work recommended that we didn't need.
Yeah.
And so there is like a real businessy kind of, I think once you get in there, it's like, they're going to try to sell me stuff like a mechanic.
Yeah.
When you go to a mechanic and it's like, I don't know how you drove in here with those tires. And it's like, I just came in to get the oil changed. Like, can we just do the tires today?
It's so interesting. And me and a colleague.
So upselling is a big deal.
So I never know how to navigate those conversations. Because, the truth is, we don't do fillings here, right? Yeah. At face value, there's no dentist on site.
There's no drills.
That's not meant to be. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the fact that there's no dentist on site isn't necessarily a perk for everybody. Yeah. But by saying that there's no dentist on site, we're also implying, because with marketing, it's about trying to say as little as possible to have the biggest impact. So no dentist on site means no drills. Like, we're not drilling or filling. We may sometimes, as a hygienist, we can assess if somebody has a large cavity or like a large hole in their tooth or a broken tooth. Your dentist, and the conversation was similar when I worked in private practice, there's a chance your dentist is going to recommend a crown. So in some cases it builds trust, right? Because I haven't spoken to that dentist could walk in and the look could be like, you know what, I think a crown could be best. And in that situation, I've already kind of let the patient know, just as a level of awareness, you may need a crown here, right? And so I think most dental offices are ethical. Some of the conversations we have, like where you spoke about where work was done that you didn't think needed to be done or didn't need to be done, I think that's sometimes in communication. It's a failure of communication, right? So no one can really go in and say, this is true or this is not true. But what I can say is that there was a lack of communication, that it wasn't translated to you properly in a way that made you say, you weren't given the information you need to decide it. And the truth is, after the fact, if you believe that's true. And sometimes people tell us, and it could be true, I don't know if every dentist is ethical, but what I go to in a professional opinion is that there's a lack of communication.
And empowering people to make decisions for their own health.
100%, because your decision should always be to do nothing, right? And if we're talking, they're showing you a picture on the screen, there's a hole here. You need a filling. Right. We can send through a predetermination through your insurance. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of the public's negative outlook on dentistry just comes from this separation from patient-centered care. In order for you to make a decision, you need to have all the information possible. You need to know what happens if you don't do it. Yeah. What happens if you do it. What else could you do? Yeah. How much does it cost?
And there's also the scary stuff. It hurts. The sounds,
100%.
the smells, the
and
waiting room when there's a bunch of people staring at you, and you're like, oh, he's probably got a bunch of stuff to do. Like
no,
or they're probably looking at me going, "Ooh, she's going to be there all day."
And that's one of the benefits of here. We say like the waiting area. We look at every part of your experience. You can book online. You don't have to make that phone call where you admit your sins, right? You come in, you're not sat in a waiting room. Just by design, we're smaller. We always plan on being smaller. We want to thrive. We want to grow, but we don't want to be busy because when you come to that waiting room, there's generally only one person, maybe two people waiting. So you're never coming into a full waiting room. Right. There's the sounds and the smells. Yeah. There's the, separating your dental appointment. Some people have so much more confidence. They come to us first after not seeing anyone in a while. Mm-hmm. You tell me you're not more confident walking into your dental clinic knowing that at least you've had your hygiene done, right? Like you don't have to like go confess to that.
I'm good. I've got professionals in here today. But so I'm going to bring it back to self-publishing because this is not a marketing tool. This was not set out to, this is really going to bring in a whole bunch of clients. This is like a creative thing that you do, like that also came from your brain.
Yeah.
And it does present you.
100%.
It does give a very good, like a good 3D print almost of this is what you're going to get from your business. And not just from just the hygiene part. It's from the dental hygiene part. It's from like as a clinic owner, this is what you're going to get from Nicole.
100%.
Because you have that marketing idea and how you approach things. And if somebody aligns with your values, you'd be a great person to do their marketing. And if not, you're law of attraction. Your frequency is set this way, and the wrong people will just repel. You'll repel the wrong people, and the right people will be drawn.
And some
to you.
people choose us because of our values. Like I don't know about you, but like I started looking at businesses. I support more businesses that share my values. Yes. So I don't have to come out and say we embrace innovation or we embrace access to care, accessibility. I can live it, right? I can, and like the word of mouth marketing is what I call the other business,
right,
and it's about sparking conversation, like growth by contribution. I'm giving back. I'm doing something cool. Mm-hmm. I want people to talk about the clinic at the dinner table because that's how we're going to actually get patients is by them knowing that we are, we are doing something different in a different way. Yeah. And it feels good. I feel good about it. Our patients feel good about it.
So are you, what's your publishing? What are your plans for publishing? Do you have more books in you, do you think?
I would like to take that book and translate it into as many languages as possible. Mm-hmm. So that's been something I want to work on. So now I think I'm going to stop coming up with new ideas and work on some of my old ones for a little while, like see them and consult with someone like you because maybe you can accelerate me doing that so I can work on other things.
I've already got it on all the different Amazon platforms. I know all the different languages. That's
but I'm definitely open to having that conversation with you. Maybe we can make another podcast when we blow up my book. And like the other thing too is like when I talk about having like I want financial stability, I want to have money in the bank because when I have more money in the bank, I can do more cool stuff, right? It's not just about going on a nice vacation, which I desperately need. It's about building finances so that I can do. I did this with barely anything. Imagine what I could do if I had a bankroll.
And I trust that when you finish projects, there will be more ideas, and it's okay to have a bunch. Like a farmer doesn't do one thing, one row of whatever. I think they put it all out around.
I do need a garden. I do need to do more gardening. I need to like put a little love into that and see where it goes.
When I meet people, sometimes I'll say, "Okay, we just planted a seed. We can, we don't need to do anything with it. Just let it see where it goes." Because like the bamboo, I love this analogy, but like the bamboo spends 80% of its life below the ground.
Oh, yeah.
You see nothing, and then in the last 20%, it shoots up to like 6 to 8 feet. But when you first look at the ground, it seems like nothing's happening. But there's seeds planted, and that's really valuable and important. And congratulations on both books. I'm very excited to see what you do with these. And I love that it's a good way to market what you do and what you're good at and who you are as a person.
Yeah.
That's what's coming through with the self-publishing, and that's why I love it. Because if you sent this out as a manuscript to a bunch of publishers, it doesn't match with their cycle. We already have a dental. 100%. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but with self-publishing, you get to put out what you want.
Definitely, and
if things change. Yeah. If there's like an app that you can get that times you to brush your teeth, or like some recommendation you can update it.
And that's what I kind of thought about doing, was going the publishing route. But I've talked to people who've been published, and you don't have as much control. Like you don't get as much money from it. And those are things that you don't.
It's about 5 to 10% profit, and then you also have to do all of your own marketing.
Yeah.
All of it. There is no they don't hold you by the hand. They don't take you out and book all your signings and all that stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't guarantee success. Like you're making a sacrifice.
It's actually the other way. If you don't take it if you don't put on that marketing hat and sell yourself, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But with self-publishing, it's all kind of ingrained. Like you're a part of the process. And again, these are things that you can hand over to somebody else.
Yeah.
And people that have already done marketing for books and made things successful, hand it all
Well,
off.
look, I have one right here in the chair. Who would have thought?
I'm so glad we met. I'm shocked that LinkedIn has worked out, but I actually updated my LinkedIn profile. I think that a couple of days, I posted a thing about a podcast. I'm like, this is so not a place for podcasts. But I did, and it instantly.
I know.
Like, it's so funny how stuff comes together, and I updated my profile because I wanted to let people know what I would like to do again.
And then I told you, I saw you, and I went and updated my profile because I wasn't going to, definitely was. It's funny how it all worked.
So it can work, but I really trust in when you're ready for it, it does show up, and you can cooperate with your own dreams.
Definitely. And you can't be afraid to put it out there, right? Because if you're afraid to put it out there, you don't know.
And I think you need to surround yourself with people who will say, I know you're a little bit afraid right now, and that's okay. Here's what can you do about the fear. Here's what's on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's part of ADHD. That's a huge thing, because the rumination and all that stuff, sitting with things and feeling bad, and this thought goes on another thought. And so surrounding yourself with supportive people that are going to cheer you on no matter what you're doing.
I know, and I'm very lucky to have. I'm glad to bring you into my support system. It's a symbiotic relationship.
God, I can't wait to bring my kids back. Now, this is not to say like, oh, this is all about your clinic, because it's not. It's about self-publishing.
Yeah.
It really is. I met you because you were interested in self-publishing, and that is the thing that we have in common.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be.
And you have a mouth and teeth. So, I mean.
And children and a partner and all those, like, and fear. Like, all those fears that you talked about. Like, yeah, I got all that.
Yeah.
So it was like, I don't know if we can be friends if I go into her clinic. And we did fine.
We've taken it to an intimate level.
We've bonded. Nicole, this has been so amazing.
Thank you.
And so we'll get tags for all your socials.
Yeah.
And links to your books and all those things.
Thank you.
Thank you so
much. Oh my
much.
God, thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Thanks for trusting that instinct to. I wonder if she'd thank you for following through on those ideas.
And not only that, but last week we're like, when are you free? I'm like, what about tomorrow? Like, what about Monday? I know.
When somebody asked me to do something 3 weeks from now, I start coming up with ideas. How can I cancel? How can I get out of that?
Exactly.
I'm already having anxiety, but I'm free right now. How's now for you? Tomorrow afternoon? Okay.
Yeah, we'll make it work. Yeah.
People that I love that. That's my frequency, and I really like that. So I think this is the beginning of a very beautiful friendship.
I think so too. Awesome. I'm open. I'm open for a friendship.
What are you tomorrow? Can you pick me up at the airport later this week? This is so amazing. So okay, awesome. So this is Nicole Kielly, and I'm Vickie Morgan, and this is our first ever, and this is we're here at Dental Hygiene Studio, and I mean, if you're in St. John's, check it out and go to. I mean, but you know what? You're probably seeing all Nicole stuff across Canada anyway. She's doing a whole bunch, and I would imagine you're going to expand into the U.S. also.
Hopefully.
I mean, it's just so amazing what you're doing, and the books are going to be available everywhere.
Yeah, hope so. I'll let you know when they're on Amazon.
Yes, we'll keep updated, and thank you very much, and thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
So that was Nicole Kielly. She's pretty great, right?
That was really fantastic. I watched it back a couple times since we did the interview, and there's a lot of good stuff in there.
It was really fun, and to have somebody confirm, like, I've been talking about my own stuff and my own books and all that stuff, but so to have somebody say, this is how I market myself, this is how I'm putting this out, this is a creative endeavor, and she was able to do it herself. Like, these are all things that it is a completely accessible avenue for sharing your expertise. And doesn't need to be expertise. You don't need a PhD in something. You don't need to have 3,000 years of experience doing a thing. Being a professional.
I like that she found pretty much everything she needed on her own. Like, it was something that she researched and got it done on her own. And then when you guys started talking, and I think there's been more discussion outside of the interview, but it was like, yeah, there's a few more things that like you brought up to her that she didn't even know about or didn't consider, or like there's more to it. So it's funny that you guys, like how you guys met in your own, you know what I mean? We're doing it on our end.
Yeah.
She was
the signs matched.
Yeah, exactly.
What was that? The constructive interference that we talked about? When you get on the same wavelength, it just grows in magnitude. So I also I just realized self-publishing is a great thing when you have a bank of knowledge that you want to share. But podcasting, I love the idea of somebody learning something and bringing people along for the journey. And I think that's what we've done with our podcasting and our marketing, because starting out, you go back 21 episodes and we were like, I don't know how we ever going to tell people about this or whatever. Because we had done radio shows and we had done other podcasts where it was great. And we kind of were just echoing. We were in an echo chamber. We were basically doing the podcast for each other.
Yeah.
Especially during the pandemic years. But I think learning as we're going. So if somebody's following along, if they're at episode 7, they're probably setting up their Shopify account. You wait till episode 10 and you go, whoa, that was a mistake. Vickie made the same mistake. But working it out, I think it's a very...
Somebody got in touch with you the other day and said, I got some questions about Shopify, and I was like,
nope.
Vickie can talk your ear off about Shopify.
And that's not to disparage it. If you can figure it out and if you can make $150.
I'm sure it works for some people.
If you can make $150 in sales every month consistently to cover the costs of what you need to have in place on Shopify, awesome. That's definitely not my market. That's not for book sales. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. And there are just other platforms that sell much easier. But I learned that. And so if I waited until I figured that out, we would be starting a podcast today.
That's true, yeah.
And so we've got all these episodes.
And what are we going to know in 20 more episodes?
Oh, now isn't that a nice thing?
Yeah.
To think about? Like, what would I, what will 20...
Let's cut to a dream sequence right now.
You look fantastic. Have you been working out?
Is this the dream sequence?
I love this.
I like your hair. It's very nice. And yes.
And you've been maintaining your beard. How did you keep it exactly the same?
Yes.
For 3-4 more months.
Wait,
That's
are we in
amazing.
the future now?
Yes.
Oh, I got you.
We're talking to ourselves.
I thought this was us looking back on it. Okay. It's too meta.
It's a bit much.
It's a bit meta.
But I really love what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I really would love to see more people doing their podcast. Like it's, some people want to be on the podcast as a guest and they definitely belong behind the mic. They should have their own podcast.
You did have somebody offer to come on and do a knitting episode. Crocheting episode.
We want to do a crochet episode where myself and Sean Silver sit down and crochet some maple leaves. Not the hockey team, maple, like the thing that's on the Canadian
maple
flag.
Leaves.
And it's a sweet little pattern. And I love Sean, and we just click. We're just like we're.
That'd be really fun.
Super high energy, and he's so funny and awesome and gorgeous, and that'd be a fun one. So we were thinking about doing that, and I don't know if we'd go to Sean's or if we just have Sean here, just move the dog. That's true. But we'd need an overhead camera for that one, so we could actually get our hands.
Yeah, we'd have to do some logistical.
And we'd probably
research.
do a work along where you put stuff on the screen and say we just did 2 double crochets or we hooked into whatever. And it might be one of those episodes where someone goes, "Ugh, I hate crochet," and you just skip over that one. That's okay. But I love that we're doing different things, and I love we've got another episode coming up with one of our real good buddies that I'm really excited about too. So stay tuned for that one.
Some exciting stuff.
And get in touch. These are, what I love.
What
is we did not set out to get sponsors or any sort of endorsements or anything else. It was like people who are listening to the podcast like what we're doing and they want to be a part of it. That's building a community.
Yeah.
And so I really feel very strongly about this, that like I keep saying I want to go on the road. I'm going to say it out loud to the universe, because when you say it out loud, it has a much better chance of happening, right? You think it, you say it out loud, you write it down, and then the universe goes, let me see what I can work out. So, do I want to go on tour across Canada and the United States with Josh and Joel Hines? Absolutely. I said it out loud. I think that'd be really fun to go play music and do all stuff with Joel, because I love him. And maybe do a tour with Nate Bargatze one of these days, or produce a show with him or something like that.
Easy peasy.
And what was the other thing? I got so distracted just now by those ideas.
That's good. You're right in it.
Well, it's visualizing. Oh, so the dream, we've talked about this for a very long time, and I am ready to... it's not stepping off the cliff, because that makes it sound like something bad is about to happen. What do you call it when you open the door?
Instead of stepping off a cliff, what if it's like when one of those skateboarders goes off the edge of a half pipe? Because you're not jumping off a cliff, but you're going. That's when the fun stuff starts. Like you're doing tricks now, and you're grinding, and you're flipping, and you're spinning, and
I have no reference point for that. I've never been.
You've seen skateboarders though. I've never done it before, but I'm saying I've seen it, and it's.
I don't understand skateboarding because people just constantly fall down.
They call it the drop in, right? When you drop into a half pipe or a pool or whatever.
These references are just stressing me out. I don't swim.
Not a pool with water in it. I'm talking about skateboarding. There's no water in a skateboarding pool.
You said jump into a pool.
Yes, they use empty pools sometimes in skate parks.
Oh my God. That's
empty.
Where people
There's
break
no
their necks when they jump. Okay, let's get back on track. Let's talk about things that are calm and would be fun. So jumping off the cliff might...
Skydiving.
Oh, wow. You are on a roll. Let's talk about something like baking. When you finally crack the egg and put it in the bowl, and it's, you take the shells out and you're ready to make a recipe. Like, that's more my speed.
I saw somebody mixing a recipe together when they were skydiving. They were jumping out of the plane.
When you start to see, I need to go crochet something now because he's making me crazy. But like when you first start that first chain, chain 3 to make a magic loop, all that stuff. Those are the things that I'm starting a new sweater, and it's a color that I still like. By the end of this sweater, I'm going to hate this yarn with a passion. But right now, There's a world of possibility. So I think it's kind of like starting that few chains in crochet, or casting on your stitches in knitting, or I don't have another reference. It's like putting the water in the kettle and turning it on. You know something good's on the way. It opens that door. I completely lost my train of thought. You have me so stressed out right now.
I'm sorry.
This is why it works. You're like, you build like the army. Am I being recruited for the army right now?
You tear them down.
Tear them down.
Start from scratch.
Build them back up. And then you tear them down again and you build them up. And then it's a series of that until eventually they'll do whatever you say. Is that what you're doing?
Maybe.
Are you trying to get me to be
this
just
is basic
a mindless...
training. This is Morgan basic training.
You're trying to make me a mindless drone that'll do whatever you want. And that's okay, because I would basically do anything you told me. For example, hey, Vickie, I set the camera up in the basement. How about you come down and sit down? Just come sit in the front of the camera for just a second and see if I could focus in on the camera. And it, might have tricked me, but all right. The ultimate goal is to get out on the road in an RV. I mean, it doesn't matter what we're driving, but an RV would work for us because we have 3 dogs and 2 children. And I would like to be able to trade out with you so that I drive sometimes. And also I could just go lay in a recliner and, write a chapter of a new book or whatever.
We also have to have places to put our guitars and drums and
we need lots of
microphones
storage and gear. And we also need a bathroom on the road. Like we have a jug from Canadian Tire that with a spout on it. So I keep that in the back of the car. We don't have a car anymore. But back in the old days, we used to have
in the before times.
In the before times, we had a thing of a soap dispenser and a big jug of water, and we'd pull it over the edge of the...
Basically, anytime we were out, out for the day...
on a trail walk
and we want to go and we want to eat. We'd get
if
our
we
hands
wanted to
clean.
have like a picnic or something like that, or if that was just a better option or like the beach was another big one.
That's true, yeah.
So it was really nice, or if we took the dogs for a walk or whatever, it was really nice to have that little station. But if we're going to go long distances, I know from traveling with you in the past, gas station bathrooms some of them are awesome.
Yeah.
They clean them.
Truck stops, I love truck stops.
They're amazing because they're meant for comfort. Like they really cater to people that are traveling.
That's for people that need to use the bathroom or need to shower or whatever.
But I find using public bathrooms when we're traveling, a lot of times the soap is brutal.
Yeah.
And it dries my hands out. So by the end of a trip or halfway through a trip, my hands are like chips of wood. Mm-hmm. There's nothing left. The skin is it's gross. So I would like to have a bathroom that we travel with where I can put nice soap in there, put a nice little soft towel. I can, wash my hands whenever I want before, and we can also, instead of going into a restaurant, we can get food, through drive-throughs. And
yeah, that's really nice.
I don't think I want to drive down the road eating, but I'm very excited about going to different places and find
it's going to be really fun. We've done some. There's
a whole bunch like the zoo, the Boston Zoo we went there every Mother's Day. Yeah. And the boys don't remember it. They don't remember all the animals
they were babies.
Seen. So before they, go off to university and college and stuff, I'd like to go back and do all those things, show them all the national monuments and the historical places, and that this is where Dawson's Creek was shot, and this is where Joey and Pacey finally got
national
together.
National monuments in Dawson's Creek.
Where they kissed for the first time on Airlie Road and things like that. And like Dawson's, I don't think you can get to his... wharf, but you can go to the place like the train station, and
we've been watching Dawson's Creek. Can anybody tell? And
you can go to like the fish shop, the ice house, and what was the place called? Hell's Kitchen, which is in the later episodes, and just all the places that everybody with we would want to educate our children with these important. But also I want to go to New York and see all those places where they shoot SVU, and I want to run into Mariska Hargitay and Chris
Elliot Stabler.
What's his real name?
Christopher
Maloney. Yeah.
Maloney.
Oh, I love them so much. And if you're in New York, you can just drop into Jimmy Fallon. I mean, it's hard to get tickets. Or you could skate down in Rockefeller Center, and maybe, Kenan Thompson will come by, or Andy Samberg. But if we're not out there in the world, I will say, as I'm saying that, we did run into somebody pretty famous a couple of summers ago, who we absolutely love.
Here in town.
We walked past this restaurant, and it was during the pedestrian mall, so there's all these restaurants that have built out into the road, for the walkway. And I realized we just probably went way over 2 hours with this one. We should have done a full
We'll finish it up.
But anyway.
This will be our last story.
What was her name? Kristen
Shaw.
Kristen Shaw.
From Flight of the Conchords and Bob's Burgers. And
so we're walking down the road, okay? Pedestrian mall, St. John's, Newfoundland. Picture it. We're walking down a pedestrian mall. Josh grabs my arm. He doesn't do this very often.
Well, we don't see celebrities very often.
There's fingerprints in my... He's like, Vickie, I think that's Kristen Shaw. And I removed the fingers and I went, Josh, we're in St. John's, Newfoundland. There's no possible way in hell Kristen Shaw is eaten on the pedestrian mall. Turn around. Big surprise. Guess who it was?
And the extra funny thing about it was the boys had just finished watching Gravity Falls. Ugh. So they were like, it was like all four of us were like, we all know this person, and it wasn't like just seeing a random like
so impressed,
like a celebrity. It's like I recognize that person. It was like somebody that we all have enjoyed watching.
And I was like, just thank you for being a funny, famous woman, a celebrity. Just thanks for blazing a trail for women. She was like, oh my God, thank you, because her voice is amazing. The funny thing was, she was with someone even more famous than her, who is wrote for Conan. What was the guy's name? What was his name? Clint?
Timothy.
Tim
McAuliffe.
Okay. I didn't know who he was. He was just there with.
We asked him to take a picture of us.
I passed Tim McAuliffe the camera and said, "Can you take a picture of me with this person that I'm a big fan of?" So classy move.
And then she goes, "Well, you should have a picture with him too, because he's famous too." And we're like, "Okay." So we got pictures with both of them.
And went and looked as we're walking on the road, going, "Who is that guy?" And Josh almost fell down in the middle of the road. He was like, "That guy wrote for Conan." So anyway, it is possible to see people that we want to meet here in Newfoundland, but it's unlikely.
So we'll travel.
We increase our chances when we get out on the road, but I just want to get out, because you get so disconnected. Even though we're in the same house all the time, you get disconnected, and so you just figure, well, they're there, they're happy, everything's fine. We ate together, so everything's probably fine. But there's really something about being on the road that, when you're out of range of your.
We're just gonna make it happen. That's all.
I'm excited about it, and I feel like I'm at that cusp of, okay, I've talked about it enough. Now it's time to make some moves and see what we can do about it. And I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm excited about it.
That's how all of our adventures have started.
I can smell
so far.
the bacon. I've told people this, and they go, okay. I can smell,
What's really funny is that you stopped eating bacon, because
I know.
You don't.
So I need to change the dream. Maybe it's bologna. I like bologna still.
You know what I really like about camping is getting those either Velveeta shells and cheese, or the deluxe craft dinner, where it's just, instead of having to mix it with milk and butter, it's just like a cheese packet. Yeah. So all you got to do is boil the noodles, and then you mix in the cheese packet, and eating that out of, because you're camping,
milk,
so you're eating it out of
with a spatula,
paper cups.
Yeah,
because it's whatever you have in
with
there.
Two paper cups, with one to scoop and one to eat out of.
I think that's my favorite camping food, is having like those.
I like the pourable eggs.
Those are good too.
I don't eat eggs anymore.
Yeah, that's right. You got to change your.
But okay, so let me tell the bacon story, and let's pretend I still eat bacon. But I've had, I'm fully immersed, as almost like virtual reality. I have smelled the bacon where I'm in the little kitchenette in the RV. We don't own an RV yet, but we're gonna. But I know the kids are just a few feet away, and they're in their beds, and it's super small quarters, and the dogs are all comfortable, and they're all around my feet, or they're over on the bed, or they're just smelling what I'm cooking. And I can smell the bacon in the RV. I can imagine opening the door and the sound that it makes, because what the walls are made of, and the little metal stairs as you step down, and I just remember getting up mornings and going, where are we? Where did we park last night? And so sometimes we would get out in out of the camper, and we were like, oh, I'm in Boston. We're going to the zoo today, or we're in
a Walmart
Maine,
parking lot in New Brunswick,
or we're in Walmart parking lot, and they just opened, and people parked next to us last night. It was just such I loved it. Not knowing, but I slept so much better. And being on the road, it was so much fun, because you're just stimulated. You don't have time to be anxious, because there's so many beautiful things to pay attention to, that I don't have time to be anxious, which I love. And it
really helps. The fresh air and being outside and changing locations, it really helps to.
I feel like I'm a better mom when I'm not anxious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more fun, I'm more jokey, and the boys laugh more, and it's just, after being here for such a long time, I feel like the walls are starting to close in, and I'm ready for adventure and some change. And it's really nice to have that list of, we could do a book tour, we could do music, we could do songwriter circles, or we could go do podcasts on the road and help market what people are doing, and do features on what they're doing. And we just need more to do that. This is a simple little thing. We need more listeners. Yeah. We need to make sure that we're putting it in front of people who might be interested in what we're doing.
That's right.
And that's really the key of.
That's marketing.
Otherwise, you're talking in an echo chamber in your basement, and nobody can hear it. And so, but that's a waste of time. So we need to. We're moving forward. And thank you to Nicole for following the impulse to comment on the thing that she found, and it, I think we're going to be doing amazing stuff. So keep an eye out, because I'm sure I'm going to be mentioning her name as we go forward, because she's amazing. She is so energetic and just like a young mom, entrepreneur, self-published, a writer, an author, and also a marketing person. I mean, that's my magic combination right there. I mean, I didn't ask her if she likes Nate Bargatze.
One step at a time.
But I mean, you can't have everything. So it's okay if she doesn't. And that's what, I mean, it is. I mean, I don't know. I'd still like her. I think I'd give her a pass even if she didn't like him.
Okay.
But like, does she like...
just take it easy. Listen, we gotta end. This is getting long.
I'm just really excited.
People are long asleep by now.
You think so?
No.
They turned this off as soon as Nicole was done. They were like,
done. That's enough.
Yep. Their cup was filled after listening to Nicole.
So that's episode 21. Thank you for listening again, folks. And we'll be back next week.
I'm Vickie Morgan.
I'm Josh Morgan.
This is Are You Mad at Me?
We'll see you next week.